That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about AVA, the latest film directed by Tate Taylor, which was released September 25th, 2020, courtesy of Vertical Entertainment, and was not screened for the press, which you probably know what that means.
So this person's other films are notable.
Yeah, The Help, Get On Up, and Ma.
I did like Ma.
I did like Ma for Allison Janney and Octavia Spencer. But I'm not convinced that Tate Taylor really knows how to effectively direct a film.
Oh, well, I don't know at all, so good for her for doing it. But anyway, this movie is about an assassin played by Jessica Chastain. It's very basic. Like, she's at a crossroads of, like, completing her next mission, but also, like, wanting to be taken out by management because she's kind of fumbling, like, at her jobs.
Well, she's an ex-addict, and it seems she, has the propensity to slip up.
It's a little confusing to me because she is an ex-addict, and it's made very clear that everyone knows that she had this issue, but somehow is still able to work, but then puts the organization in jeopardy. So it's like now they've had it and they want to get rid of her, I guess. But so they attempt to, but she gets the upper hand and takes out management and is able to sort of walk off into the sunset. The end.
Wow, that's a very streamlined synopsis of what's going on.
Well, there's a lot of random things happening, but really that's it. And the crux of it, I don't understand.
Well, no, it's all the major catalysts don't really make sense for why this nexus is happening. It opens with her in this dry blonde wig in France, and she's picking up her next target from the airport, played in a very small role by Ioan Gruffudd from Fantastic Four. He tries to seduce her, and she kills him, and she's being recorded by one of Colin Farrell's henchwomen, Diana Silvers.
And Colin Farrell is part of the management of this organization she works for.
Who was trained by her mentor, Duke, played by John Malkovich, but Duke and Simon, Colin Farrell, are not quite equals, but he can't tell Duke what to do, so that's kind of why Ava has been able to get away with some shit, basically. She kills this man very sloppily. John Malkovich is congratulating her, and he's like, do you want to talk about the next mission in Riyadh? She's like, no, I need to go back to Boston to clear up some loose strings.
So she goes to Boston to find her sister, who she hasn't seen in 8 years?
Yes. Oh, do we want to mention the opening montage?
I don't even remember it. And I watched this movie this morning. What is it?
It's a clip. It gives us all the exposition, the vague exposition we need to know about her becoming an assassin. She's ex-military, and then there are all these like flashes to bank account numbers. Like this is the money she's getting for. Well, I commented on it because it's so ridiculous. To make us understand that one is a high intensity kind of gal based on her psyche evals and has some drug and alcohol issues. As we come to learn, to get clean is why she left Boston 8 years ago, hasn't been back. At an AA meeting, we get some exposition about the dysfunctional relationship with the father, who has since died. But to me, the father dying would have been the impetus for her to go back, but it's not. She just goes back. And then Jess Weixler, who plays her sister, who's a singer, is like, oh, you got my email, that's why you must be back. No, I didn't, she said. Because the mother, played by Geena Davis, has angina or something. She's in the hospital. So there's all this stuff going on that really doesn't need to happen for her right there at that moment, or at least that isn't explained.
Yeah.
Anyway, she goes to Saudi Arabia to take out this German general at this fancy hotel, but it's botched. And she thinks that John Malkovich has set her up, but it's not. It's really Colin Farrell, without John Malkovich knowing, has tried to take her out.
Yeah. It's so weird. I don't understand, like, this world they're creating where it's like, if you just want the bitch to stop assassinating, just don't give her any more jobs. Just tell her, like, thanks for your service. Here's some retirement money or whatever. Like, be good, girl.
But then we have to have that obligatory conversation about her handler, who's like John Malkovich. She's the best we have. And it's just a very vague, sloppy movie that uses the same tropes about a star assassin and her handler who adores her.
I would like to get through my notes quickly. Ava as a blonde, I thought looked like the lady from Ozark.
Janet McTeer.
Yes.
Love me some Janet McTeer.
They use a phrase more than a couple times about keep your head down and powder dry.
Yeah, that's the catchphrase between Malkovich and Chastain.
Right, but I don't know what that means.
I don't either. But they stopped saying it. Like, it's so heavily used in the first couple of sequences that when it stops being used, to me that would signal to her that something's wrong. Because they just stopped using it.
So I'm not familiar with Jessica Chastain, but she...
You are, but you don't remember her, I guess. But
she's a beautiful woman.
Mm-hmm, very.
But it's interesting casting because her character is very physical. Like, she fights a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But Jessica Chastain doesn't appear to be in fighting shape.
Mm-hmm.
She's very curvy, and I'm only saying this because there are like 3 scenes where we see her running. Mm-hmm. 2 of which she's running for like fitness. Mm-hmm. And she looks like it's the first time she's run, or like she's being chased. She definitely doesn't look like she's handling running well. So I think it looks odd that she is also like this very physical fighter. It just doesn't like match. Also, the final scene, so the final showdown is with her and Colin Farrell, and what I thought was a very good fight scene. But also, you know, she's like in her, like, I don't know what size she wears, but like these mom jeans. It just looks kind of funny to me.
It did look, the choreography of the fight sequences is good. It's a notch above a lot of things. It's not at the level of an Atomic Blonde, but
No.
By far. But yeah, it doesn't seem like this is somebody that, if she's an assassin, isn't this kind of assassin.
She's not the fighting kind. I would think she's more like the cerebral, like, I'm gonna pull a trick on you type. Mm-hmm. But no, she's just kicking.
Spell on you.
She's just kicking ass everywhere.
I think that's the reason that Chastain is a very vocal proponent of women's rights, women's representation in film. For whatever reason, I don't know why, I know about all kinds of things she's tweeted about and has kind of fostered her own legacy, which is very commendable. But for a lot of things, not a lot of things, a couple things she's done have felt like, oh, she, like in Mama back in 2013, that seemed to be her response to, like, oh, I could have been Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And this feels like, because I remember her calling out the excellence of Atomic Blonde, and this seems like her star power getting this made to put that together for her, which I think I remarked it could have been called Nuclear Redhead.
Good for her. I mean, good for her for being able to do this movie. I don't think it's very good.
The other weird story behind it is it's scripted by Matthew Newton, and I brought this up after we watched it, who's an Australian actor who kind of comes from acting royalty on that side of the globe, who's an expat now because there have been a lot of controversy about him with domestic assault, which of course Chastain is always a strong proponent against. So there was some criticism when she signed on to this because he was going to direct and he had to step down. And her friend, Tate Taylor, of course, ended up being the director. It was also filmed as Eve, not Ava. So whatever, I don't know if it was more to distance it from Newton's original idea or whatever, but it was filmed as Eve. So every time Ava's heard, they had to go back and reshoot or re-record that.
Well, that seems like a waste of energy.
Kind of.
What else do you want to say?
Joan Chen shows up as she has this secret gambling den in Boston, and I like seeing Joan Chen, and I think she's just fine in her sequences, but also that felt a little bungled. Geena Davis's presence, she gets one good scene where she kind of explains the fraught relationship between mother and daughter, but to me the whole entire thing felt like an homage to something like The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Okay.
Any thoughts on Common?
No.
Common plays the ex of Ava, who's now with her sister, who's pregnant by him, and there's a lot of tension over that also feels very heavy-handed. The dialogue is so bad. There's John Malkovich confronts Colin Farrell at one point, says something like, Colin Farrell turns to Diana Silvers and says, "You'll have to activate cleanup protocol." What? I don't know. It didn't work for me, even though I kind of wanted it to.
Yeah. Anything else?
What would...
I mean, I'm getting tired of this movie. I don't have anything good to say about it, but...
I don't either, but I obviously can see why it wasn't screened for U.S. press. It has played in a number of territories over the past year, so we're kind of the last leg, which I can see why. But what would you give this film?
I would give it 1.5 out of 5.
Same. I think that's apt.
All right.